Hello, viewers. These are my thoughts on the Falcons versus Saints game on Thursday on Thanksgiving. Let's begin. As a Saints fan, and any other Saints fan out there will agree with me, especially the ones, not the bandwagons, but the ones that have actually been paying attention to the earlier start of this season. Um, I'm really impressed by this game. Not just because that this not just because this puts us ahead of the Rams in terms of the NFC, not only because this completely eliminates the Falcons, a longtime rival, but because our defense really showed up this game. You see, as a lot of people might have as a lot of Saints fans might have noticed, our defense was pretty piss poor during the beginning of the season. I mean, we gave a 48 to Fitzpatrick. We held the Browns down to 18, but even then, they're still the Browns. That's a really low bar. Um, I give credit more towards their defense than anything in that game, but yeah, you can't really brag about the Browns. And then we gave up 30 plus points to the Falcons. Now, we won that game, but still, that's a lot of points on the defensive end that you just gave up. Like, it's almost like that you weren't even there as a defensive player. Yeah, our defense was a joke at the beginning of the season, but I mean, I have to give them credit. Our pass rush and our pass rush has always been, even at the start of this season, I believe that this our pass rush has really been the key to our defense succeeding. I mean, obviously it hasn't always succeeded. Again, 48 points to Fitzpatrick, but along with all of our defense, our pass rush has been getting really better over these past couple of weeks. They completely bullied Carson Wentz in that Eagles game, and then this game they just dominated Matt Ryan in the pocket. They gave him no time. It was just crazy to see our defense playing that well. I mean, and I give them a lot of credit for this win. Not to say that our offense didn't do anything. Drew Brees had 4 touchdowns and four undrafted receivers caught all those 4 touchdowns. Kirkwood, uh, Tommy Lee. Hold on, let me check real quick. Okay, yeah, I got him pulled up right here. Keith Kirkwood, Austin Carr, Tommy Lee Lewis, and what was that other guy's? Sam. Wait, is it Sam Arnold? Because I get him confused with Sam Darnold. Let me see. Dan Arnold. I get those two confused. Sam Darnold and Dan Arnold. Okay. But yeah, Dan Arnold, Tommy Lee Lewis, Austin Carr, and Keith Kirkwood. They caught all of Breeze's touchdown passes. And I'm just really impressed with them this game because, they didn't have a breakout performance or anything, but, they had, for the most part, Atlanta's defense. They didn't have Thomas shut down or anything, but Thomas really had a quiet game. I saw a few passes that he had on a for Q on a sorry, I'm mixing up my words. A key set of first downs that we really needed. Um, it's not like he was completely unnecessary. It's not like he had a poor game per se, but you just expect much better from someone like Michael Thomas. But I'm glad with our offense, it's like next man up because there's nothing more annoying than than when a team gets too reliant on a player and then they just fall apart. But I really like that part about our offense. I'm glad that it's the next man up mentality with them. They didn't dwell on anything, and they just went out there and played. They did their job, and I'm impressed with what they did. But yeah, I said all that to say this, that our offense wasn't trash or anything, but for a while the Atlanta's defense had us stumped because uh earlier in the game, I think it was one of the fumble recoveries. It was definitely one of the turnovers, but it was one of the fumble recoveries um, that we got, and they held us to a field goal. And I have to give props and respect to Atlanta's defense because they just really held us out there for a while. I mean, we broke out eventually, but I have to give credit to them. They played most of the game. I feel like if their offense actually did something, they they could have got more confidence and went into the maybe stopped us again, because Atlanta got into the red zone like a few times. Like if I'm not mistaken, three times. Like we had four turnovers. Like one was a tipped interception, but it was definitely like three times they got at least near the red zone, and then they just completely turned over the ball. I mean, that's just not acceptable. Like, I really feel bad for Atlanta's defense because they were legitimately giving their all out. I mean, if you want to nitpick here and there, they could have done better in some areas. I mean, they did give up four touchdowns, but again, well, I don't think I mentioned this, but as a lot of people know, Atlanta's defense, a lot of major injuries happened on their defensive side. That's why they have been giving up a lot of points for a while. So to play with that much intensity, to actually hold us down to a field goal and to just straight out give us a three and out in some possessions we had the ball, they I'm really impressed with them because a lot of their defense went out and they just showed up. Like I said before, it was the next man mentality with them. They didn't dwell on it, and they went into the dome, they went into New Orleans, and they played their heart out. It was all down to the Atlanta's offense. They just couldn't score in the red zone, and by the time they did, it was too late. I mean, it was just terrible to see such. It's just, I mean, it's not terrible to me, of course, but just from their perspective, to to stop Drew Brees from getting near the red zone, to hold them to a field goal, to hold us to a field goal, and then to have your offense just completely turn the ball over in a key game in a key game that can keep you in playoff contention if you're still if you actually win the game, and to see your offense just do that, like it just shuts down their confidence after a while. I mean, three turnovers near the red zone, that was just terrible, man. But yeah, I give a lot of credit of those, well, not just the turnovers, but there were a few sacks. Cameron Jordan had one, and Sheldon Rankins had one, and even times when they didn't strip sack them or tip the ball to force a turnover, their presence was always there. That pocket was never secure for Matt, at least when I saw it, because he was either throwing. He threw a lot of quick balls, if you ask me, because again, our pass rush is just amazing from what I've seen. I mean, it was just really great to see. Matt Ryan just looked scared that entire game. Like you could see the fear in his eyes, even behind his face mask. But yeah, man, I just give a lot of credit to our defense that held them because without our defense forcing those turnovers, without them getting the strip sack, without them forcing Julio to fumble midair, without them, I mean, the Calvin Ridley turnover kind of happened late in the game, but even then, if I'm not mistaken, it was like third quarter, and we were up by uh, was it two scores or three? I have to go back, but yeah, it was kind of late in the game, but still, it was just a matter of making their presence known. Like a key play from last week when we faced the Eagles was that 4th and 7, and then Sean Payton just kept his foot on the throttle and made a play where Alvin Kamara caught the ball for a touchdown, and they're just like, we weren't getting off of you. Like I'll give credit to the Falcons. The Eagle. I'll give credit to the Falcons. I mean, they didn't get beat as badly as the Eagles, but yeah, that was the key mentality of our defense this game. I mean, never get your foot off the throttle. Like that Calvin Ridley turnover happened later in the game, but it's just a matter of making your presence known and making them fear you, I guess. I mean, just keeping that intimidation factor up on them. And I really respect our defense with that, and I really hope they can keep that up because that's going to be key going into these playoffs when we'll most likely face the Rams, whether it's in our home or not. We're going to need that defense. We're going to need that mentality of never letting go because even though we won the game against the Rams, they still came back like 35-14. They still came back and tied up the game. And even though we ended up winning by 10 due to some really great defensive stops and an awesome touchdown pass by Drew Brees to Michael Thomas, who was just burning Michael Peters that game. Marcus Peters. I mean, that was just sad. But yeah, Will Lutz too. I mean, I never want to discredit the kickers, especially this season. I mean, just watching that Vikings versus Green Bay game alone just made me appreciate Will Lutz. I think he missed like one kick this year, but I don't really care. I just appreciate the ones that he made, especially if it's more than he missed. But yeah, what was I talking about? Yeah, we gave up a pretty huge lead that almost could have won them back the game if it wasn't for our defense and that great pass to Michael Thomas. But yeah, that's going to be key if we're going to face them in the playoffs. We must keep our foot on the throttle. That's what needs to happen. We can't let go even when we think we're safe. But yeah, that basically wraps it up. Just to wrap it up real quick, just to wrap up my thoughts, I'm really impressed of what our pass rush has become. Uh, I'm really impressed with those four undrafted receivers: Keith Kirkwood, Austin Carr, Tommy Lee Lewis. Yeah, Tommy Lee Lewis, and not Sam Darnold. Sam, not Sam Darnold. Sam Arnold? What was his name? Dan Arnold. Dang it. I keep I keep mixing up their names, but yeah, Dan Arnold, Keith Kirkwood, uh Tommy Lee Lewis, and Austin Carr. Yeah, I was really impressed by those guys. Glad they stepped up. Um Really impressed with Kamara this game. He didn't really have a big breakout game, but he had a few really huge runs. I mean, obviously they weren't any touchdown runs, but yeah, I still appreciate Kamara always keeping up that physicality, always keeping up that finesse. I mean, his footwork is impeccable to say the least. But yeah, really impressed by that. I think this eliminates the Falcons from the playoff picture. Yeah, I think it does. Wow. Um, my condolences, Atlanta. My condolences, Falcon fans. Hope your defense. I mean, I'd say I hope your defense does well soon. Like, hope your defensive players get off an injured reserve and can start up soon. And I do hope that. But I mean, the defense you had played really well, and your offense just couldn't do anything. So I just wish your offense well. I hope they can keep up the good work for next season so we can get some competitive games. But yeah, man, that's basically it. Proud of our offense, really proud of our defense. Sheldon Rankins continues to amaze me. The pass rush in general was amazing, but yeah, that's basically it. So, like the video, comment below if you have any thoughts or if I messed anything up. And I'll see you for the Dallas preview. And if I don't do a Dallas preview, I'll definitely do a post-game review of the Dallas game. So thanks for watching and hope to see you for the next video. See ya.